Hey there, ladies and gents, welcome back to the vlog. My name is Drew and I am just so happy that you're here today. I've got some comfy shoes on and it's kind of toasty and well lit in this room, so it must be time for another video. So I found this really awesome subreddit the other day called r/CS majors, and being that I was a CS major at one point, I thought it would be cool to go onto the sub and start getting some ideas for different videos based on what you guys are interested in. And I got a comment from Thinkman77 who said, "This suggestion does not exactly target a college guy, but is much needed for exactly that person. Try to introduce DevOps to a college student. For ideas, go to our DevOps and also, if possible, read the Phoenix Project." And it goes on. So basically, that gave me the idea for a new series that we're starting today that I call ELI-CS Major. So if you're also on Reddit, you know the ELI-5 trend, which is explained like I'm 5, where people explain complex concepts in a easy to digest way, something like a 5-year-old could process. So I'm going to be breaking down topics in computer science and the professional world of computer science like a CS major, or in such a way that it's conducive or understandable by a CS major. So to kick things off, we are going to be talking a little bit about DevOps. And DevOps is a big topic in the world of IT right now. DevOps is short for development and operations. And see that, development, operations, smush them together. And chances are, when you Google DevOps, you're gonna see one of these little helix graphs. It's like the most common graph that is used to describe DevOps, and it does a really good job. So if you haven't seen this before, go check it out. It'll give you kind of a preliminary understanding of what we're talking about here. But at the core of DevOps, the attitude is uniting two sides of the IT world. So the development part is obviously your application developers, your engineers, your security engineers, sometimes testing falls into development, sometimes testing falls into operations, and then the operations side of things is like your sysadmins, your infrastructure guys, your network guys, the guys and gals, I should say, that maintain the servers and the resources that the developers put their stuff onto. So, why is DevOps a topic? Doesn't it seem conducive that the two should be smushed together into one big branch of IT? Well, yeah, you'd be correct, but the thing about it is there are certain companies, if you look at a company that's been around for a while, most of the time, just with how the company has evolved over a period of years, IT operations and IT development or application development have been separate. So DevOps looks at uniting those two. Now, to give you guys an example, let's take an old company like Ford or General Electric, or just a really old company. So the Ford Motor Company started back in like the 1910s and 1920s, and by the time they got to the digital age, when computers were coming up, it's probably the case that Ford's one focus was making cars, and then, oh cool, there's this computer thing, or this computer revolution that's going on, maybe we should get our hands into that. So Ford spins up an IT operations center where they look at different ways to use technology to help improve their business. And then later down the road, once computers are more well postured, I guess you could say, or applications and code and all that stuff became more mainstream, Ford probably said, yeah, that's pretty cool. So we're close to modern day now, and everybody else has an app, or everybody else is building these internal applications. Let's build a group within our IT division for just developing apps. So first came IT operations, then came development. My iPad just glowed up here real quick. So first came the development side of the operations side of things, and then development came after that. So the two are kind of in their own silos, and this is actually pretty common practice for a lot of older and more legacy companies. So think about companies like before 1950 that haven't had their focus on technology. Of course, if you go to a company like Facebook or Uber or a pure to the word technology company, I see this in my own company, of course your IT operations and your IT development guys are going to be talking to each other, because the core of our business is in making software. And so that encompasses everything from writing the lines of code to testing it to deploying it, and all of it is kind of working together, and the culture of the company is built in such a way that all of those parties talk to each other to make one product. But if I'm Ford and I'm making cars and I have a website and there's some technology stuff, but the core of my business is not making apps or software, it's making cars, then IT gets kind of brushed onto the side, and it's easy to have it be siloed, like I said. Generally, DevOps, like I said in a nutshell, is just uniting the two sides of the house, application development and IT operations. So now that we have a really condensed look at what DevOps is, let's talk a little bit about what a DevOps engineer does. So a DevOps engineer, as I understand it, or as I've read it, will basically go in between the two teams that are either not talking to each other or talking very little, or maybe they even hate each other, because sometimes the app guys will push a version of the code that'll break the infrastructure, and the infra guys have to clean it up, and then they go and they wag their finger at the app dev guys. So it could be anything from these two groups don't talk at all, or they're at each other's throats because they just hate each other. And as a DevOps engineer, you have to come in and kind of streamline all of that. So communication is definitely key. And number one, you have to be a people person. You have to be able to maneuver between both sides of the house and understand things from different perspectives. Now, in addition to that, the more technical requirements, you want to look at first understanding software development life cycles very, very, very intimately. DevOps is kind of the natural extension of agile methods, or the organizational evolution of agile methods, where agile methods is just like quick turnarounds when it comes to software and getting requirements and all that good stuff. Really, really quick turnarounds. So DevOps is the same way. DevOps is taking agile programming and using kind of the same methodology in the organizational world to do quick turnarounds between dev and ops. So getting that process as streamlined as possible. Now, in addition to the software development lifecycle, agile methods, extreme programming, all of those things that are kind of table stake, you might want to know a little bit about infrastructure as well, too. So if you know a platform like AWS or Azure or DigitalOcean, I don't know if there are many DigitalOcean deployments in production, but, or I don't know of any big companies that use DigitalOcean. They usually use AWS or Azure. But if you can understand one of those platforms, you're definitely off to a great start. And so understanding how to spin up a box, how to network it, how to do all that stuff, and understand how code gets onto that box, that's imperative as well. So now you know the software development lifecycle, you know how everything is moving, you can jive with the software guys, and you know the infrastructure pipeline, and you understand how that code gets onto the infrastructure. Now you're ready to do DevOps, and what that involves is automating that process. So how do we get from this code or this GitHub repository, how do we compile, how do we test, and how do we deploy in as seamless a fashion and with as little downtime as possible? And there's a lot of tools that you can use to do this. When it comes to like dependency management and stuff like that, I'd use Composer. That's a really great tool for like web applications. Chef is really good. You can spin up a bunch of chef recipes that'll help to manage your projects and things like that. AWS has a lot of really cool DevOps services. They've got like code repositories and changelog and versioning and change request softwares that you can leverage in the cloud. And if you go into an AWS house and they're using AWS, it's as simple as, hey, we're using this stuff already, why don't we leverage this other service as well? So DevOps begins when you understand the software side of things, the infrastructure side of things, and how to optimize both sides of the house and get that kind of helical effect going on. So typically, to be totally honest with you, DevOps is something you'll look into later in your career. You have to have a very intimate understanding of software development from like a coder's or developer's point of view, but you also have to have some very good experience with infrastructure as well, because oftentimes you'll work in tandem with both teams, and the software guys are saying like, hey, we just did this commit and we pushed it, and then the infra guys are like, wait, your push broke our stuff, so we need to roll back, and then the infra guys have to roll back, and if they don't have the old version, then they have to get from the software guys. So it's getting that back and forth, and it's trying to mitigate as much downtime and as much, I guess, friction between the two teams as possible. So definitely have it on your radar. DevOps is becoming more of a topic now, and hopefully in the future, most, if not all companies will have a policy of, hey, IT operations should talk to IT development and testing should be thrown in there somewhere. But believe it or not, there's actually a lot of companies that aren't poised that way. So as time marches on, I'm sure a lot more companies will be coming around to that model, and naturally the need for DevOps engineers will become greater, which is great, because if you're starting your career right now, you can get the experience that you need so that in 10, 15 years down the road, when the demand is really high for DevOps, you can jump in and start making those big DevOps dollars. So Thick man, I hope this hit on the point, and he gave me some ideas for some other positions that I'll be doing in this series. So I'm really hoping to make this a series. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any ideas for topics or professions that within IT that you want me to talk about, then definitely drop a comment down below, and I'd love it if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel. That way when we make a new video in the ELI-CS major series, you'll be the first to know. And we'll finish off today's video in the normal way, and that is by me saying, always remember, friends, that you are wanted, you are loved, and you are appreciated. You have a special talent that nobody else has, and the world is waiting on you to bring it out. So muster a little courage, go out into the world, and change it. That's what the world's waiting on. You.